Hey everybody, my name is Fred and I am an alcoholic.
Hey, Fred.
Let's see. Well, I could start out by 7 different ways because I've already done one lead coming here. Now I'm doing this lead. When I go home, so was telling Mark back there, I'll be giving my next lead. So I usually do that every time I lead. I get 3 in 1. Well, I want to say that it is an honor and a privilege to stand before you tonight to tell you my story and what Alcoholics Anonymous has done for me in my life and the God that I understand has given me because I've been willing to go to any length to stay sober. And with that, I guess it's time to qualify. Well, I'll tell you what, I'll start with my recovery started in August the 15th of 1991. And it has been a very adventurous trip. And before that, though, I had to suffer a lot from my own thinking, believing, and consequences of the way I live my life. And even in recovery, I've had to pay many prices for my selfish, self-centered behavior. And we'll get to that as we go along. But anyway, I was born in 1954, and I learned real early what it was like to have a couple of parents that just loved to argue and yell and fight. And it really rubbed off on me because, oh yeah, one of the things I always like to say, if you've got any men in here who like to beat on their women or slap them around or whatever, let me tell you something. I remember at 4 years old, my father doing that to my mother. So if you want to keep doing it and want to give them a pleasant memory, just go ahead, because that's been 67 years ago, and I remember it like yesterday. So I'm telling you, you better stop it if you're doing it. Anyhow, I grew up in that atmosphere of young fighting, and it went on for a long time. And but I learned one thing real well, real early, and that was fear. I learned it real early, and I didn't realize how engrossed with fear I was in my life until I got to Alcoholics Anonymous and surrendered to it and started practicing spiritual principles until I was 37 years old. So that would give you an idea of how fear ruled my life that I found out in step 4. And that was one of the very things that I did not want to know about myself. So if anybody tells me they did a step 4 and I enjoyed it and I loved everything I learned, all right, if you want to believe that, you go right ahead, because there were many things that I found out in my step 4 that I didn't want to know. But I had to be brutally, rigorously honest with myself if I wanted this recovery the way it's supposed to be lived. So that's why I did what I did. I had to pay the price, and I was willing to pay it. And anyhow, I lived in that fear when I was younger, in all different situations. It didn't make any difference what the situation was. I ran from it, in my mind, in my body, whatever. If it was a controversy, if there was anything going on that made me feel uncomfortable, I ran. And that's where I learned running. And I've done that pretty good in my life. And when I get later on, you'll figure out hear a lot about that. So anyhow, I met a girl when I was at 17, and in church, of course. I was brought up in church. My mom made us go, Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, and every 6 months a church revival. And we were there every time until I turned 18 years old. And it was a real learning experience, because once again, I was afraid of doing something wrong because the lightning bolts were coming down, which is not a way to be taught about the God that I understand today. Even though he does do discipline, he makes me suffer with my mistakes, my choices, but it's not like he's out to get me. I don't believe that anymore today. I have a lot of choices to make, and if I make the correct ones, according to the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous and the God that I understand, I have no troubles, and I have no fear, and I have no grief. So that's a learning experience right there. It's 34 years of experience, that little statement I just made right there. So if you think that's a 15-minute solution, I'm afraid you're wrong. You'll find out too. So anyhow, I met a girl, and I was scared to death, of course, and she had come a real hard case down in Fort Walton Beach, Florida, and she had moved up to Springfield to live with her aunt and uncle because her mom couldn't deal with her anymore. And they brought her to church, and I met her, and boy, automatically I said, woohoo! And so I couldn't let her know that I was afraid. So anyhow, she loved to huff, you know. And so she talked me into it right away because I wasn't going to let her know I didn't know anything about it. And so that was my very first experience with any kind of a mind-altering substance, okay? And believe me, it's mind-altering, okay? So I was all sorry and remorseful and sad and wasn't allowed to see her anymore, so that was over and done with. Pretty good. That's fine. But I was still afraid. Anyhow, I met my first ex-wife. Wait a minute, I better back up a little bit. In the deal of going to church, okay, I met the preacher's daughter. My PK is what I call her. And naturally, I fell in love, you know, again, you know. And I thought that I got the calling to be a minister, okay? And boy, was I wrong. But to impress her and her father, I was going to show them that I was, and I was on my way. So I went to college down in Kentucky to get a better education, to be able to communicate better with people, you know, being a minister. Well, I found out down there when I got freedom away from home and away from anybody that knew me, that it was easier to major in pool and minor in women, or either way, you know. And that's exactly what I did for the year and a half that I went before I finally said, what am I doing? I'm not doing this. I'm going back home. So I went back home, quit that, but in college, that's where I met my first my first ex-wife. So, and we went together for 4 years, and we were married for 15 years. But during that 15 years, I did not treat that woman right. I did not. And the sad part about it was, she really and truly loved me, and she was a fine, good woman. And I mean, she was, man. There's no other way to say it. I really screwed it up, messed it up. Mental abuse is sometimes worse than physical. So that's where I took it, and that's where I lived it, and I made her pay for my fears and my failures. And she eventually got tired of that, and she kicked me to the curb, which she had every right to do. And she finally decided that her self-respect and her dignity was worth more than me, which was a healthy thing for her, and it crushed me like a powder. In that time, I started drinking again. Bad, real bad. And she left me June 19th. Well, that's when the divorce was final, June 19th of 88. And from June 19th of 88 until November of 89, it doesn't exist in my mind. I don't know. It does not exist in my mind because I was drunk or high 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And believe this or not, I went to work every day that I was supposed to. I didn't run any junk in my machine. I did everything I was supposed to do. And it was just, I guess you could say I was a functioning alcoholic. I paid my bills. I did all that. But I do not remember any of it. Any of it. Because I was bound and determined that I was going to make me pay for my mistakes. And that's exactly why I did what I did. The contempt and the hatred and the dislike, and for me, was unbearable, unbearable. And in November of '89, I remember standing in the bathroom, and I had been to the doctor, and I'm depressed, doctor, so give me a bunch of pills for depression, and 3 other things to help me. I'm supposed to go to counseling now, and all that. And I went to, I was standing in the bathroom, and I looked down at that bottle of pills, and I said, you know what? I said, I'm really sick and tired of this, and I just think I'm going to step off the planet. I'm done with this shit. I'm done. And that's exactly the way I felt. And I grabbed the bottle, and I dumped it down and followed it up with whatever I had, and sat down and waited to die. And that's what I hoped it would happen. And it didn't work out that way, because somehow or another, my mom showed up, and the squad was right after her. They took me to the hospital, and they saved my life. And I went to, oh yeah, and by the way, later on in the lead, I'll tell you about my ace in the hole. Everybody's got to have an ace in the hole, and I got mine, okay? So anyway, they took me out of the hospital after a week. Oh yeah, my doctor fired me. He said, don't bother me at 3 o'clock in the morning anymore. You don't want to stay alive. I'm not your doctor. Get another one. Boom, he was out the door and gone. Yeah, there you go. Everything's working right up to snuff, So anyhow, what you had every right to do. So anyway, they came and got me in a squad, 2 big paramedics, I guess, I don't know. And they put me in the back of the squad, and they took me down to Green Memorial in Xenia. Well, I didn't know what Xenia Memorial was. I didn't have a clue. And because the doctor had asked me, I'm going to give you 2 choices, Fred. You can either go to Dayton State down in Dayton, or you can go to Greenhall. And by the way, I had a tube in my throat down in my lung. And I didn't know either one of the places, and I didn't know anything about either one of them. But Dayton State didn't sound too good, so I said Greenhall with a tube down my throat. So they took me to Greenhall after they discontinued everything on me. So I spent, let's see, Christmas and New Year's in Greenhall that year. And I got out, and I have a picture of me that one of my kids took of me when I had them over for their Christmas with me in January sometime. And I had, when I first started that escapade of drinking and using, I weighed 315 pounds, and when I was looked at me in that picture, I weighed 190. And that's not bad when you only eat once every 3 days. And that's what I remember about it. I lost that much weight in that much time, in that year of '89. So anyhow, I went to Greenhall, and my first introduction to Alcoholics Anonymous was after I had been in there, and I had talked to them, and the psychologist, and the head of Greenhall, and a doctor, and everything. I was sitting in the hallway, and they were having a conference about me, and they were talking and everything, and I'm sitting in there, and I've got my ear, I'm listening to what they're saying outside the door, and everybody gave a report, and nobody was saying anything. They all sitting there, and I was like, I wonder why nobody's talking. And it'd been like 2 or 3 minutes, and then finally the head of the recovery place said, my God, man, it's a miracle this guy's still alive. At that time, my hair stood up on my neck because I didn't realize what I had done to myself, and I didn't see it the way they saw it. I just thought it was me, and who cares, whatever, and it didn't mean anything to me until I heard that. And something inside of me said, wow, okay. Well, after that, they said, Fred, we got to come up with AA meetings over here in the hospital in Green, and I have a mental ward here. I said, I have a couple other people. Why don't you go over there to an AA meeting and just see what you think about it? And I said, oh, all right, yeah. I'll see if I can't help them out. So there you have it. Anyhow, the reason why I thought that way is because I had been on a fire department, and I was a captain on the fire side, and I was a lieutenant on the squad side, so I knew how to save people's lives, okay? But also remember that all that knowledge, all that stuff, didn't do me any good at all when it came to quitting drinking. And you'll learn more about that in a little bit. So anyway, I went over there, and I'm thinking to myself, all right, that's interesting. We walked in, and there's like 4 or 5 people from out of town in this meeting, and there was 2 or 3 of us, so we sat down there, and we went through the readings and everything, and the guy said, well, I'm glad everybody's here. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic. And I sit there, and I listen to that, and I let that work around in my head, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm in the right place. I'm in a room full of psychos. Anybody that's grateful to be an alcoholic, they got to be out of their mind. You know, and I'm telling you, that's my first very thought in Alcoholics Anonymous. And then the next guy, he starts talking about God. And my first thought was, oh no, not again. So those are my first 2 thoughts in Alcoholics Anonymous. So, that's where I've come from, to where I am today. And it has been a trip, and it has been a lot of work, and it has been a willingness to be and do more than I ever have been in my life, if I wanted the peace of mind and serenity that this program offers. So now, I got out of there, and I'm thinking to myself, hell, and they made me go to Positive Focus down in Dayton 3 times a week for 3 months after I got out of there, okay? All right, I will. So I started going down there. I went for about a month and a half, and I was going to meetings in Springfield because that's where I lived, all right? So anyway, I'm going to those meetings, and those people are talking about me. I go back to Positive Focus, and I don't sit in. There's 25 in the group. We're all sitting in a circle, and they're saying similar things to like they said in Springfield. 25 miles away, here we are. Go to another meeting, and then people in Springfield are talking about me again. Man, they got to be getting this information from somebody. So the next time I go back to my meeting in Positive Focus in Dayton, my turn to talk, I said, look, I don't know which one of you are calling over there talking about me, but you better stop doing it. And they all started laughing. And I didn't understand what was so funny, but I'm looking at them, well, I'm serious, stop. But I had to learn what was really going on. And I'm telling you, this program is a miracle, and it will teach you what you don't want to know if you let it. That's the thing. So anyway, I finally quit going to that. Oh, after 3 months, you're supposed to get a big medallion. You know, you graduate from the class. Not you, buddy. You're going again. So I had to go for 6 months because they knew I was out there, man. There's something wrong with this guy. But they made me go for 6 months, and I don't even know what I ever did with the medallion. Ain't that something? It must have been real valuable to me. Probably pitched it out the window on the way home. I don't know. But anyway, I started going to meetings in Springfield. And, oh, those old men. Oh, my God. And the older ladies that were in there, man, they started, I called it beating on me, making me mad, hurting my feelings, telling me the truth about me, and I didn't want to hear it. I did not want to hear it. I didn't want to know it because, see, they were taking away my excuses. They were taking away every one of them for why I did what I did and how I was living my life. They weren't afraid to be honest with me no matter what the cost was. And that's exactly what I needed. And they knew it, okay? And here's another thing I always say about that situation is those old men knew what I was fighting for. I didn't, but they knew. They knew I was fighting for my life. And I didn't know it. I had to learn it. And I learned that over the next 2-year period of going in and out and in and out of Alcoholics Anonymous, fighting this program with every ounce of my being after everything I'd already been through. I still wasn't convinced. I still didn't believe that I just knew I was going to solve this problem. And nobody was going to tell me how to do it. I was going to do it. And I couldn't stay sober. And I made the fatal error, and being young, of comparing my insides with everybody's outsides. And the way everybody else said, I ain't never going to get this. And, it was just a negative, I'm, crazy, and out of my mind, And after, I'd say, let's see, it was June 19th of my sobriety date, 91, I finally was going out to my car to get some more stuff out of the trunk, because that's where I hid it. And I opened that trunk up, and I looked down in there, and it just seemed like I was looking down into the black hole of death. Because and all of a sudden, some intuitive idea or intuitive thought came into my head. I can't do this anymore. And when it hits you that hard, there's something inside that snaps, and you're on your last hope. You're at your last chance, and you better do something about it. Because for some strange reason, during that 2-year period, I started having a willingness I didn't want to die. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to be that guy that had quit on himself and just didn't care anymore. And it didn't have anything to do with anybody in my life. Because everybody in my life had said, you're crazy, I'm staying away from you, get out of here. And see, that's the way of living a selfish and self-centered life, And that's another thing. If you turn to page 62 in the big book, you'll read my autobiography. That's me. If you're wondering who you're looking at, just turn to page 62 and read it, and you'll know who I am. So, and then add alcohol to that. Yeah, there you go. That's a real winning combination if you want to read what I'm like. So anyway, I finally surrendered to who I was and what I was, and I started going back to meetings with an attitude that I'm going to get this, or I'm going to get it. I'm going to get it. And I started going. I was working a 4-day work week at my job. And I had opportunity to go to 2 meetings a day for the 4 days I worked. And on the weekend, Friday, I went to 4 meetings. Saturday, I went to 4 meetings, and Sunday, I went to 3 meetings. So anyway, I figured out I was going to 20 meetings a week because I was going to get it or I was going to die crying. And I went to 20 meetings a week for 4 years. 4 years. I did that because this guy wasn't going to quit. Okay, now here's the interesting part is, about 1.5 years of doing that, I started asking people to be my sponsor, And everybody that had been over there, they had seen me in and out and in and out and in and out. And the first 6 guys I had, 5 or 6 guys I had, they said, nah, we don't believe you're serious. We don't believe you want it, And that drove me to the point of why I went to 20 meetings a week for 4 years, because I was going to show them I wanted it. And if they didn't believe me, the action speaks louder than words. And that's what I proved to them. And I finally got this old guy, Art. He seen me, and I walked up to him one day, and I said, Art, man, I need a sponsor, man. Will you give me a hand, man? I'm flailing. I don't feel like I'm growing enough. And I hadn't, because I hadn't worked the steps yet. So anyway, he said, okay, but I think he said, I think you really want it. He said, yeah, I'll talk to you. I'll take care of it. He said, be at my house at this and this a date. And, all right. So I started going to his house, sitting across from his kitchen table, and he started tutoring me. And boy, I'm telling you what, he was a nice guy in the meetings and wore his hat and everybody, hi, how are you? Shake hands with everybody. But yeah, you sit across from him at his kitchen table, and and he's not afraid to tell you you're stupid and you don't know what you're talking about and you're a dummy. And that's why I laugh whenever I would go into a meeting with him, and everybody would think, "Oh, he's such a nice guy, man, ain't he wonderful?" Well, if you really wanted recovery and you really wanted to be taught, you needed to sit down across from him at his kitchen table. And that man taught me so much about myself that I didn't want to know. And those are the things that kept me coming back, that very thing. Anyhow, it's been real interesting in this 34-year period of being sober, which I have done everything wrong that you could possibly do wrong. I used to go to meetings. I was looking for the devil with the blue dress on, or the long, cool woman in the black dress. I was going to find one of them in there, they're someplace. And so that was after my first wife divorced me. And so I found one. And that was only at the bowling alley, all right, that I found her. So I decided, I'm sober. I've been sober for 5 years. I do all right. I think I'll take up bowling, So I took up bowling, and I started bowling a couple nights a week. Next thing you know, I'm bowling in 6 leagues, 5 days a week. Imagine that. And alcoholic takes things to the extreme. Wow, not me. But anyhow, I started doing that, and I started slacking off the meetings, of course, And slowly and surely, my attitude started changing. I was short-tempered. And to tell people the honest truth about how the short-tempered was, I was banned from 2 bowling leagues, okay, because of the way I talked and the way I acted. Yeah, ain't that great? That's a real representative of Alcoholics Anonymous, isn't it? Okay? And now the best is yet to come. That's about 4 or 5 years sobriety right there. And I still hadn't learned my lesson because my ex-wife, that was my second ex-wife that happened with. And with her, I decided that she didn't respect me, and I was going to teach her a little respect. And I ended up in Clark County Jail for domestic violence, of course. And that was another humiliating experience, another lesson that God had to teach me. And I remember sitting there with my hands under my chin, my elbows on my knees, just feeling sorry for myself. Why this happened to a good guy like me? But I remembered for about 4 months going to my sponsor's house and him saying to me, "Fred, if you're so smart, what are you doing sitting in Alcoholics Anonymous? What are you doing sitting in Alcoholics Anonymous? You're so smart." So I'm thinking in my mind, why does he keep saying that? He must be sponsoring too many guys. He doesn't realize he's telling me that. That's my thinking, okay? So I'm sitting there in the jail, holding cell with that situation I was sitting in, and this thought comes in my head. "Hey, Fred, if you're so smart, what are you doing sitting in the Clark County Jail?" Then it finally dawned on me what he's been trying to tell me all along. He could see my selfish, self-centered, aggravating, he knew me like the back of his hand. And he knew I was headed for disaster. And he was trying to tell me, stop what you're doing. Because you're headed wrong. You're not working the program. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And buddy, I showed him he was right. Yeah. All right. So anyhow, now, so we got divorced finally. Yeah. More child support. That's 5 kids. 3 with my first ex and 2 with this one. All right. So now I go another 2 or 3 years. I'm trying to work on me, get everything all straightened out. And I meet another woman in the meetings. Got a year's sobriety. I figured, hey, man, this girl's on her way, man. I'm all right, Because my sponsor said, don't you dare go to any woman that doesn't have more than a year. Don't you dare do that. All right, I won't, all right, I won't. So anyway, I got involved with her. One thing led to another. I got married to her too, all right? So now so anyway, that marriage lasted for about 5.5 years, and that one, and the reason why is because about 1.5 to 2 years into that marriage, she went back out and started using and drinking again. And I stuck it out for another 2 years, and I had to go. I had to go. I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. And see, that was my mistake again, because there you have it. I thought maybe I could save her. I thought maybe I might be able to help her, keep her sober. Now, that lets you know how naive I was still to realize I had no power over that disease over me. So why in the world did I think I could help somebody else with how? That's the hard lessons that I've had to learn in here. Who I'm battling against, what I'm battling against. It isn't drugs and alcohol I'm battling. It's that spiritual battle that we have in here that nobody ever wants to talk about. You know, we want to think, well, I quit drinking, I'm all right now, or I'm running out. Nah, not this guy. See, the longer I'm sober, the longer I keep coming back, the more the battle rages. The battle rages. And if anybody tries to tell me that it doesn't, then they gotta look at the way they were living the steps. That's all I got to say. Because my lower guy, that cunning, baffling, and powerful guy, he won't let off. He knows my weaknesses, women and my kids. And every time anything goes down in my life that hurts me, he's right there to remind me. Hey, see, I told you wasn't worth the kid. No wonder they treat you that way. And man, he's right there hammering on me, reminding me. And he won't let me go either. So anyhow, we got divorced, and to prove how this works, after I had left her, 10 years after I left her, she died of a drug overdose. And that one hurt. Because, see, that woman was a brilliant mind. She was a few points up or down from a genius IQ, around 160. Okay? Too smart for the program? Huh, okay. So that tells you right there what you know, how intelligent you are. It's worthless in here. It's worthless. Because if you don't surrender to who it is and what it is, and start working and living in steps, you're in trouble. You're in trouble, man, I'm telling you. I've seen it over and over, and anybody with any long-term sobriety has seen it over and over and over. When people come in and think they got it and they don't have to come no more, and then you read about them in the newspaper or read about them online. Gee whiz, I wish that wouldn't have happened. There's something happens to the old-timers, I guess I'm one of them now, that when we read about somebody that we've grown close to and we've worked with and we've really wanted them to succeed and we were rooting for them and we were giving them everything we could give them, and they die. There's no pain any greater. There's no pain any greater right there. Because you knew they had the answer, but they wouldn't take it. They wouldn't take it. And that's the hurt. Everybody's got an opportunity to live a life that is unbelievable, okay? By the way, I might as well get to my fourth ex-wife. I married this woman 2 or 3 years after the third, okay? And we were together for 15 years. And I thought, hey, this is it. Everything's cool, man. Great. I mean, you know, I'm going to meetings, everything nice, everything's fine. This is when I had, I think, 29 years in here. 29. All of a sudden, one day, she left. 2 days later, she's married to somebody else. I couldn't believe it. I thought, what happened? What do you mean? I don't get it, you know. Now, I called her my wife, but we didn't get married. She was living with me all that time. But she, boom, dead, gone. And that right there was the first time since I had been sober when I thought about throwing in the towel. At 29 years, I thought about throwing in the towel and saying, I've had it, I'm done. That's how much that hurt. Man, I mean, that turned my heart to powder. It did. And I made up my mind right then and there that I was going to meetings in Miami County then, and I wasn't going to drink or use, and I wasn't going to quit, and I wasn't going to give up, because my disease was beating on me like you wouldn't believe. And this is during the period that I met 7 or 8 people in Miami County, up in Pickwood and Troy and Sydney, that were there for me. They helped me through it. They gave me encouragement. And most importantly, they prayed for me. And I believe in that more than anything in the world. When they pray, somebody praying for you, you better believe it. You better believe it, because I'm telling you, it works. When I was out there acting like a wild man, my brother, oh yeah, by the way, I meant to tell you, my brother turned out to be a minister. I turned out to be a drunk, so there you have it, But my brother was in a big convention somewhere up north in the United States. He was a preacher a youth pastor and a music minister down in Mississippi. And he went up north someplace to a big convention, prayer meeting. There was like 1,000 people there. And they broke up into groups, and each group had like 25 or 30 people. And every person in the group would put down a name that they wanted to, pray for. And I didn't know this until I'd been sober for like 3 years. But at one time, I had 1,000 people praying for me. If you don't believe in the power of God, you better look again. Because I'm telling you, and I believe with every ounce of my being, that that's why I'm standing here before you tonight. Because those people and everybody that really believed in that God that I believe in today did not quit on me and did not give up on me, and they led me back to where I should be. And that's why I smile about that minister thing that I told you about at the beginning. Because my brother, we used to talk a lot on the phone, and this one day I'm telling him, we're conversing back and forth, and he makes a comment. He said, Fred, he said, I'm proud of you, the way you've worked your ministry. That's what he said to me, and I went, what? And I looked at the phone, and he said, don't you think that maybe something you say may lead somebody to the Lord? Don't you think that? Then that's your ministry. And I had to laugh, because here I was all those years ago running from God. I ain't be no minister. I'm not doing that. Yeah, just like Jonah in the well, Well, I had to become one of us, and then I got spit out into AA. So here you have it, and I laugh about that. I'm no shame whatsoever. That's it, man. I'm glad that's what happened. I had to pay the price. I had to pay the price. And here I am. And it's okay. I don't mind at all. I don't mind at all. I go into every meeting I go into with the attitude, if I can say one thing, just one thing that's going to keep somebody from drinking or keep somebody coming back, and I leave them thinking I've been successful that day. And that's why I do what I do for Alcoholics Anonymous. Because I understand today, those old men that used to beat on me mentally and spiritually and hurt my feelings, they could have cared less about my feelings. It didn't matter to them, because they wanted me to live. And they laid it on me hard and heavy, and they made me more bound and determined to get it than anything else. And it worked, because I'm still here after all these years. And I really enjoy when a newcomer comes in and they stick it out for that year, because that is something that you're never going to be able to take back, that year. And the only thing I can tell you is that you're on your way if you keep coming back. If you keep coming back one day at a time, you're on your way. Because see, like right now, I'm standing up here giving all this blah, 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 but see, you know what? I'm real enough, smart enough to know that you're the most important person in here, and I'm just a messenger boy. There you have it. That's what I know about this program. That's all I am, is a messenger boy. I'm not any more important than anybody in here. And that's why I lead what I lead. And, let's see. I am not naive enough to believe, okay? Even with all the sobriety years that I have, okay? I'm smart enough to know and realize that me standing by myself, alone, without this program, without you people, and without the God that I understand, that I don't stand a chance against my disease even yet today. That's why I do what I do for Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm not going to be sucked into, I've been sober this long, I don't have nothing to worry about. Yeah, here I am, I'm all ready, you know. Okay. Then how come I've had, in my 34 years, I've seen people with 15, 20, 25, and 30 years go back out? Because where's their humility? That's what they lost. I'm not giving my humility up. I'm not doing it. I know what it took for me to get here, and I know what it takes for me to stay here. Steps 10, 11, and 12 on a daily basis, and a contact with the God that I understand through prayer and meditation. And I've got 9 spiritual books at home, from the Bible to the big book and everything in between. And I use them all. I use them all. Because, see, I'm fighting for my life. I'm not playing games. This program doesn't care anything about race, religion, female, male. It don't matter. It'll take you out faster than you ever believe. And if you don't believe it, you better get back into the big book. That's the only way I tell you. Because I'm telling you, prayer and meditation has taught me my closeness to the God that I understand. If that's what you want, if you want to get closer to the God that you understand, then you better hit the knees, or you better hit the big book. And that meditation is the most important, to listen to what he's trying to tell me. And that's why I read all that spiritual material, because I want to hear him talk to me. I don't want to hear Sports Illustrated or the news or whatever else is going on. So, anyway, I hope I helped somebody tonight. I really do. I'm going to keep coming back, and because I don't know any other way to live now. Because the peace and serenity that I have in my heart and my head, I don't know where else to go get it. And when I see you people and I see newcomers get their tokens, man, that fires me up. Man, I'm ready for action then. Yeah. And I learned that early on when the old timers took me on 12-step calls. Yeah, that's an experience you needed to have. But man, oh man. So anyway, that's about all I got. I could keep talking more and more, but it's time to go. So thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it. Thank
you. Exactly what came out was. Hey everybody, my name's Joni and I'm an alcoholic. I just love the passion that you have for this program, because it saved my life too. And I will be forever grateful. And a couple of things I got was that whole don't co-sign somebody's bullshit, because honesty can be gut-wrenching sometimes, and it's sometimes hard to give and it's sometimes hard to receive. And I've been on both sides of that. So I'm grateful you came over tonight and let us get to know you a little bit. And like I said, you're on fire for this program, and I hope I have that much fire in me when I have that many years, if I make it that long. So we are at the top of the hour, but I'm going to set this down over here, and if anybody wants to make some quick comments, we can go ahead and do that.
I'm Tom, alcoholic. I want to thank you for pointing out that fear is the main problem. You brought that up right at the beginning, and I really tuned into that. And just keep coming back. Thanks a lot. Thanks, Tom.
Francois, I'm an alcoholic. So there. Thanks for coming over, and thanks for sharing with us. And keep doing what you're doing. I think Nobody's ever got it, but for today, I think you did good. That's all I got, thanks.
Thanks, Wes.
Thanks, Wes.
Yeah, I'm not Paul.
John.
Thanks, Brett. I relate to a lot of that story, and one thing that I definitely agree is if it wasn't for them old timers when I got here, that didn't care if they pissed me off or not, they wanted me to stay sober today. And that was what they did, and that was what they were there for, and I'm grateful for that today. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin. I'm Matt, I'm an alcoholic. And I don't know if you used the words, but when I was listening to your lead, I got defiance and I got self-pity. And I always love leads that touch on those themes because they were so much a part of my drinking. And it was this endless loop, you know. I was defiant of the world, I knew better than everybody else, and then it would blow up in my face and poor me. How did this happen to me? Why me? You know, I'm not a bad guy, you know. So I loved hearing that, and it reminded me, it took me back to that mentality. So thanks for a great lead.
Thanks, Matt.
Mark Antoine. Fred, always good to see you. I mean, one thing I learned, I'm glad seeing I was able to get down through your lead and been around you for a while now. And one thing I heard early on is to stick with the winners. And, you know, get big around you and see you come into a meeting, I automatically think, man, this is going to be a good meeting. You know, whether you say anything or not, I mean, I just, you know, see a lot. Meeting makers make it, you know, that's what it is. And you know, just showing you came from Fletcher into here to do a league all by yourself, nobody came with you, you know, you would have came here regardless. And snow, rain, whatever, you know, and just, so anyway, I'm glad we were able to make it. Thanks again.
I'm Katie, I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Katie.
Great lead all the way through. There's so much I could comment to, but I think one thing that's sticking out to me right now is the way that you found your calling or your ministry, you called it. I came with one of those funny religious backgrounds where everything I did was going to send me to hell once I prayed the prayer of salvation again real quick. And so I was just a jumbled up mess as far as my understanding of God when I got here. And it's been a journey. Who's connected with
Wes.
It's been a journey really to come to understand my higher power in a way that I can turn my will and my life over to Him daily. You know, it's been a struggle at times, and then it's been really beautiful at other times. But I've been able to remain sober, and that was something that I could never do before. I would drink over that. And I just had an intuitive thought, an epiphany, I guess, one time that I was told at a pretty young age that I had a mighty call on my life. And I always felt this big pressure, like, well, what is it? What am I supposed to do? And then I'd go out and drink and drug and really screw it up. And so then I was lower and I was never going to find it. And I just had all this internal pressure about it. And it just came so softly and quietly one time. Like, I think I was reading either the big book or one of our books at home. And it just hit me like, maybe I just don't belong up on the stage. Maybe I belong in the basement of the church with the rest of the drunks. And I'm okay with that today. And just to be able to finally be okay with me and to know that God's okay with me has been an incredible gift in this program. So I was happy to hear that in your story, and thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Thanks, Katie.
Okay, friends, let's gather up and please be here once you hear your let's
That was pre-position, I was all gathered up.
I'm in recovering alcohol. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that day. Who that they may solve their common problems and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement is a membership for the only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics,
organization or institution does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any cause. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety.
Thanks, Andrew. And let me ask a friend to read how it works.
Being an alcoholic.
Wes asked them to read how it works. Here we go.
This is how it works. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Those who do not recover are people who cannot or will not completely give themselves to this simple program. Usually men and women who are constitutionally incapable of being honest with themselves. There are such unfortunates. They are not at fault. They seem to have been born that way. They are naturally incapable of grasping and developing a manner of living which demands rigorous honesty.
Did you second that?
Their chances are less than average. There are those, too, who suffer from grave emotional and mental disorders. Many of them do recover if they have the capacity to be honest. Our stories disclose in a general way what we used to be like, what happened, and what we are like now. If you have decided you want what we have and are willing to go to any length to get it, then you are ready to take certain steps. Some of these we balked, and we thought we could find an easier, softer way, but we could not. With all the earnestness at our command, we beg of you to be fearless and thorough from the very start. Some of us have tried to hold on to our old ideas, and the result was nil until we let go, absolutely. Remember that we deal with alcohol, cunning, baffling, powerful. Without help, it is too much for us. There is one who has all power, that one is God. May you find him now. Half measures availed us nothing. We stood at the turning point. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. 1, we admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. 10, continued to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him, praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all our affairs. Many of us exclaimed, "What an order, I can't go through with it." Do not be discouraged. No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. We are not saints. The point is that we are willing to grow along spiritual lines. The principles we have set down are guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Our description of the alcoholic, the chapter to the agnostic, and our personal adventures before and after make clear 3 pertinent ideas. That we were alcoholic and could not manage our own lives. That probably no human power could have relieved our alcoholism. And that God could and would if he resolved.
Thanks so much. Hey, friends on the phone, if you're on the phone line, could you please make sure your phone is muted? Otherwise, we get background noise, so just make sure you're on mute. Thank you. And then I have Don.
I'm not alcoholic. Hey, Thomas, if we are painstaking, not taking our development, we will be made full we're halfway through. We are going to know new freedom and new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to go on with it. We will comprehend the word surely, and we will
about how far down the scale which we have gone. We will see how our experience can benefit others. Building a useless step table in this fair. We will lose interest in self-image, gain interest in fellows. Self-esteem will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook on life will change. Fair people of economic insecurity believe us will truly know how to handle situations battles. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do ourselves. So their spirit promises they are being filled among us. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. We will always tell lies who work for them.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
And we're gonna have the dealer reflections now.
Wayne, I'm an alcoholic. A 100% step. Only step one, where we made the 100% admission we were powerless over alcohol, and we practiced with absolute perfection. 12 steps and 12 traditions, page 68. Long before I was able to obtain sobriety in AA, I knew without a doubt that alcohol was killing me. Yet even with this knowledge, I was unable to stop drinking. So when I was faced with step one, I found it easy to admit that I lacked the power to not drink. Was my life unmanageable? Never. 5 months after coming into AA, I was drinking again and wondered why. Later on, back in AA, and smarting from my wounds, I learned that step one is the only step that can be taken 100%. That the only way to get 100% is to take 100% of the step. That was many 24 hours ago, and I haven't had to take step one again.
Thanks. And right over here, 24 hours.
I'm Fred, I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Fred.
Hey, talk for the day. When we were drinking, most of us never thought of helping others. We liked to buy drinks for people because that made us feel like big shots, but we only used others for our own pleasure. To really go out and try to help somebody who needed help never occurred to us. To us, helping others looked like a selfish thing. But when we came into AA, we began to try to help others. We found out that helping others made us happy and also helped us to stay sober. And I learned happiness and helping others, meditation for the day. I will pray on for strength and that God's will be done. I will use God's unlimited source strength for my needs. I will seek God's will for me. I will strive for consciousness of God's presence, for He is the light of the world. I have become a pilgrim who needs only marching orders and strength and guidance for this day. Prayer for the day. I pray that I may seek God's guidance day by day. I pray that I may strive to abide in God's presence.
Thanks, Fred.
Thanks, Fred.
And Tom's going to pick out something from As Bill sees it for us.
Now, I picked page 315, greater than ourselves.
Hi, Tom.
Oh, I'm Tom, alcoholic.
Hi, Tom.
If a mere code of morals or a better philosophy of life were sufficient to overcome alcoholism, many of us would have recovered long ago. So we found that such codes and philosophies did not save us, no matter how much we tried. We could wish to be moral, we could wish to be philosophically comforted. In fact, we could will these things with all our might, but the power needed for change wasn't there. Our human resources, as marshaled by the will, were not sufficient. They failed utterly. Lack of power, that was our dilemma. We had to find a power by which we could live, and it had to be a power greater than ourselves.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tom.
And I'm gonna start your 7 tradition basket over here, and then I'm gonna let Kev do the coping sports this evening.
Kevin, I'm an alcoholic. And the recovery group here, we have a token system, recognizes different lengths of sobriety. First token we have is a 24-hour token. Anybody here for the first meeting since their last drink, like to try this way of life? Okay, then we move up there, and then we have monthly tokens, 1 month up through 11 months. Does anybody have any month they'd like to have recognized today? Okay, well, if you've made it 11 months, then we have a little more durable 1-year token. It's a real nice token. And is anybody celebrating 1 year sobriety?
I got 1 year, but I got my token on Wednesday.
Congratulations, Jack.
Thank you.
Good deal, man. And then this group offers an 18-month token. It's a long time between 1 and 2 years, so we like to recognize a little accomplishment in there. We have an 18-month token. And then we have yearly tokens, on from 2 years, and I got a bunch of them way up for a long time. Anybody need a yearly token or any length of sobriety anybody would like to have recognized today? All right. Well, let's just give ourselves a hand.
Okay, well, then that takes us to announcements. We have some of those announcements. There is one, we have a bowling date picked for February the 28th, bowling at Playmore Lanes in Coldwater. It will start at 8:15. Get there when you can. We do 8:15 because there's a meeting at 7 to 8 in Salina. I'll give you enough time to get over to Coldwater. No speeding though. I know you're excited, but anyways, you don't have to bowl. You can just hang out and watch people bowl and enjoy fellowship. We always have a good time. Usually have a really nice crowd. So if you've not tried that, come on over. And then we're also looking at, towards the end of March, we haven't got an official date. We're going to maybe have a Saturday game night here and maybe play games and have karaoke. We'll see. So once we get that finalized, we'll let you know.
And we were talking about a workshop.
Well, we're going to have, you know what, we're going to have a group conscience for that.
Okay.
Okay? So maybe you can set that up, Kev, group conscience for that. Something like that. Come up with that, okay? Because I'm not going to, yeah, we'll sit down and talk about it, see if we can get people on board.
Yeah, we'll get you on board.
All right, so, anyways, when I was at Coldwater at the anniversary, there was a kind of lively little group. Little lively group, a little table that was kind of lively. And you know I like lively, so for some reason I kind of funneled over to that table a little bit. And I ended up just asking them all to come and share their experience, strength, and hope with us. And I would say everybody at that table was willing to come over. So, last week there was a lady, a couple weeks ago, yeah. So anyways, this gentleman, yes.
Don't we need to know who's here before we introduce him?
And first of all, we probably would like to know who's here before we introduce our speaker, so he knows who he's talking to. So I know I have Jim on the line. Is there anybody else out there on the phone line?
I'm Sharon, recovering alcoholic.
Hi, Sharon. Anybody else? Okay, we'll go around and introduce ourselves here.
I'm Adam, an alcoholic.
Hey, Matt.
Jason, alcoholic.
Hey, Jason.
Katie, I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Katie.
Andrew, recovering alcoholic.
Hi,
Jared, alcoholic.
Jared. Tom, alcoholic.
Tom.
My name's Wes, I'm an alcoholic.
Wes.
Kevin, I'm an alcoholic.
Kevin.
Shane, alcoholic.
Shane.
Mark, I'm Fred, I'm an alcoholic.
Fred.
Wayne, I'm an alcoholic.
Hey, Wayne.
I'm Fred, and I'm an alcoholic.
Hi, Fred. Well, and that's my friend that told me he'd come share his experience, strength, and hope with us, the last Fred. So I don't know much about Fred except that he volunteered to do it, and I'm looking forward to hearing his story because he was pretty excited to get here today, I will say that. So I've never seen anybody that really excited to share this, so I'm excited. All right, Fred, come on up.